Welcome to Campo and Joe, our podcast leading up to the draft. It is an exciting time. We're going to try and deliver as much intel to you as we possibly can. Joe C. from XL Primetime, noon to 3, Monday through Friday. Hope you can tune in and check us out. And Dave Campo, he's been in these war rooms. He knows what's going on. Are you ready to break it down for us?
Oh, I'm excited. This is when it gets exciting. It's the last week. Unfortunately, with the Jaguars, we've been talking about this stuff since October, and here we are there, which makes it exciting.
This is a season in and of itself that we had no idea was going to start in Halloween and going to end somewhere around Cinco de Mayo. Okay,
yeah, there you go.
We will wake up and it'll be Cinco de Mayo after we have talked all this draft. So here we are, and we're hoping that people are going to tune in and get a last little bit of information to help them make the decision. Now, fans are trying to make this decision, Coach. This team is trying to make this decision. So let's start with a couple of things that are the biggest talking points right now, and then we'll kind of go in a couple of other directions. But as you and I sit with our Campo and Joe podcast, there is chatter all around that Travon Walker is the betting favorite to be the number one overall pick. I'm just going to ask you a simple question. Why? Why is this happening all of a sudden?
Well, first of all, things change radically. Paralysis by analysis, the longer it goes, the more they look at people. I think one of the things with Travon Walker was, number one, he's a junior.
Right.
So the amount of work done on him is a lot less going into this draft because you don't know if he's coming out or not.
Right.
Than you are with a Hutchinson, for an example. So the more people look at him, the more positive things they see. And so he starts rising. Then he goes to the combine and he blows out a 4.51 in the 40-yard dash. And unfortunately, I've heard people say the shorts athlete, all of a sudden everybody's excited. What it really does, though, is it causes you to look at more film on the guy if you hadn't done it when a guy has a great athletic day. So I think as it gets closer, more of his positive things have come out, and he's moved up. Now, how far he moves up, we don't know whether or not he's the number one betting favorite. They might have the number one betting favorite, but they don't know who they're going to pick.
No.
They're trying to get one where they got a chance to win as many over as under.
And Vegas is convinced that there should be some money going in that direction. And I understand where they're coming from. I think more than anything else, the thing that pops for me, Coach, is that the fact that he has moved up this meteoric rise from the pro day, from the combine numbers. He ran a 4.51 as a 275-pound edge guy. That fired everybody up. But the other thing is, does this say as much about the great unknown because there's no bona fide guy at the top, and that's why he's coming up this way?
Well, I think that's part of it because I think this draft right now is not one where you say, okay, this guy's a guaranteed first pick in the draft.
Right.
These guys are your top 5. These guys are your top 10. This is a little bit more different draft, and especially in the positions that are the important positions: the quarterback, the offensive tackle, the edge rusher, the corners. Everybody sticks a different one up in there. I see Stingley come up in there in the top 3, and then a month ago he was number 8 or 10 or whatever. It just kind of goes back and forth. But I think one of the reasons that all the prognosticators they don't watch as much film as the scouts do, for sure. And so they like that athletic number. He runs fast. He looks smooth. He does this or he does that. But they don't watch every single play like the scouts do.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons that a guy can rise quickly. And that's one of the reasons a guy can fall, whether it's medical or you hear something about his off-field activity.
Right.
There's all kinds of things that can make a difference as it gets close to the end.
All right, so we are close to the end. So let's look at the notes because Coach Campo breaks it down as well as anybody. And like you just said, we can't watch all the tape, but some pluses and minuses, if you can believe this, Coach, some pluses and minuses for the final time on Aiden Hutchinson and some pluses and minuses for the final time on Travon Walker, because it seems to me the reason why Travon Walker is coming up is because people think that there's more upside. Now, that could be kind of a two-edged sword. More upside because you haven't seen enough plays from him at that position, or more upside because you think he could be a better football player 2-3 years down the road?
Well, I think there's more upside possibly because we haven't seen as much of him, in a situation, and his production has been low.
Right.
But you look at the measurables and you say, okay, this guy Walker, for example, you've seen him drop in coverage.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen him do things that you haven't seen from Hutchinson.
Right.
So development-wise, he doesn't have all the pass rush moves that Hutchinson has.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that means that he may be able to be developed, and his athletic ability, the production might catch up with it based on his improvement in the areas that he can improve his pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I think Trayvon Walker's a really good run player. He's physical. He can play inside at tackle in third downs on guards. He's got those things. But the thing that concerns you with him is his production. Why has he not done more with what he has?
Yeah.
Hutchinson, on the other hand, has produced based on his ability to do certain things, his ability to rush the passer. He's got great hand movement. He can speed up the field and come back underneath. He has counter moves. He has all the things. Well, maybe his peak has already peaked.
Mm-hmm.
That's the concern.
I see.
Whereas the other guy might be a little bit more developmental.
All right, so I'm trying to figure out the best way to come back and say, well, wait a minute, coach. If he did all this and he's, hit a certain productivity level, I can't consider that a threshold. I consider that the beginning of what could be a great career on the next level. I don't see anything flattening out from a guy that was more productive in their final year of college versus the other.
And that's why I believe Hutchinson will be the first pick, because I believe he comes into the league, he's more prepared.
Right.
For sure that he's a good locker room guy and that he's a studier. He understands the game. He does all the intangible things to add to the ability that he has. Those guys, the smart guys, the guys that have those intangibles, usually are the guys that rise to the occasion. So I think that's probably the thing that puts him in the lead right now.
One of the other things that we were trying to figure out, you had Aiden Hutchinson, you have Kwity Paye I think it was last year, and then you had David Ojabo this year. There were guys that were on either end of that Michigan front that were pretty good. But then you look at Georgia and you just see how many good to great guys that were on that side of the football. And it's hard to not look good with that many other good guys. And we were even joking with our buddy Hayes Carline from the Franchi Show. He said he was the sixth best guy on that Georgia defense. Now, I know he was probably exaggerating a little bit, but that's, I think, the worry for Jaguar fans.
Well, he was probably the third best guy on that team.
Yeah.
But in all reality, you're absolutely right. There's no question that when you have a guy like Ngakoue that was here, who was really productive, that made Josh Allen extremely productive. When you've got good players around you that are producers, that they can't zero in on one guy.
Yeah.
And for me, it makes you look a little better when you're in that situation. Yeah. But when you're the guy,
right,
that's a whole different story. And I think Hutchinson, as far as his ability to rush the passer and affect the quarterback and do all the things he had to do, he was the guy on that defense. And
all right,
that makes a difference.
So you're not feeling terrible about defending an Aiden Hutchinson as the number one overall pick. You think there's enough good evidence there because he has played that position primarily and played it at a pretty high level. And then you go to the next one. Okay, I can see maybe where they're thinking with the Trayvon Walker discussion. All right, so now you've been a head coach in the National Football League. You've seen a powerful owner and Jerry Jones step in and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. You've seen general managers at times that have, had a very, very good now plan and for the future plan. Take Doug Peterson, Trent Baalke, and Shad Khan and tell me how you think it will go over, say, the next 48 hours when they've got to make this decision.
Well, I think Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke have tried everything they can to be on the same page.
Okay.
And I think that's important because I think they have to get themselves together to where whoever is picked, they're going to be champions of that pick,
right?
Not my pick or your pick or whatever. I think the one thing that you've got the dynamic here with Shad Khan is not Jerry Jones. Hasn't been close enough. He's put a lot of solid with the guys that are making the decisions. He's been very good with the people he's got with football people. Mm-hmm. That's not worked out all the time.
Right.
So I think he has his opinion that he doesn't want to gamble. And so to me, he's going to come in, he's going to make his position very well known. Mm-hmm. And that might be Hutchinson, I don't know. But if he makes that decision, he's going to listen to his football people when it's all said and done. But he's going to be very sure in his mind that they understand where he's coming from that affects their decision as well.
He can't get it wrong this time.
No.
And I think that's where I've arrived is that I believe Shad Khan would fit the description of a perfect owner. Let me just describe it real quick. Perfect owner, I got a lot of money, I got a lot of passion to win, and I've got the trust in people to let them do their job. So those are three really important things. I don't mind writing checks. I don't mind giving you the power, but let's just go ahead and let's win some dang football games, okay? It has not, the last part has not happened. And so I feel like Shad might be doubting himself just a little bit. But go back to the point that you made earlier on our show. He now has seen, after getting rid of the other people, he now has seen, at the very least for the here and now, a couple of guys work together for the common goal.
And I think that's the key. I think when you look at that, he's saying to himself, I think he showed his true colors when he made the decision. He came out and said, I'm tired of all this. I'm going to restructure the front office. And everybody thought, oh man, they're bringing in this guy and that guy, and he's going to be in charge of everything. And he may not make the final decision, but he's going to be on top of everything. And then after seeing Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke work together, he then changed his mind and said, well, wait a minute, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to bring in an assistant GM to go along with Trent Baalke. And by the way, the guy that they're bringing in is a Trent Baalke guy.
Yeah.
So I think he felt really comfortable after seeing the operation that Doug and Trent were going to come to a meeting of the minds and make the best decision for the football team. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think he will, acquiesce to their decision.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I feel like I'm with you with Aiden Hutchinson. I've got a question mark next to Trayvon Walker's name. I won't completely crush them on Friday if that's the direction they go, if I feel like there's some merit to the choice. But I'm in the Aiden Hutchinson camp just like you are. I'm worried about K'Lavon Chaisson not being a reliable weapon on the edge. I know that somebody needs to go opposite Josh Allen for him to have a chance. And they haven't really put a whole lot of money in that particular position. All right, so how about you and I play the game of we have selected Aiden Hutchinson or Trayvon with that number 1 overall pick. Now what are we going to do at 33? Then what are we going to do at 65 and then 70? So let's start with 33. Where do you think we're going to go?
Well, again, it comes down to who's available and those kind of things. But if I was looking at it in my wish list, I think if I took Hutchinson with the first pick, my next pick is going to be another big. It's going to be an offensive lineman if there's one available. Linderbaum, Zion Johnson.
Interior lineman,
because that's an area where there is some question marks inside. And to me, taking the 2 bigs, you win at the line of scrimmage. That's important, especially for Trevor Lawrence, to make sure he's got protection. So I would be hopeful that Linderbaum would be there because I think the whole thing starts with the center.
Right.
And I think the center position is one that is extremely important as well. And they're losing Linder.
Right.
That's going to be a big pick for him. So I would look at that. Now, if I took one of the offensive guys first, now I think I would be looking at what I have with my club is it might be an edge rusher. It might be a Boye Mafe from Minnesota. I would look at that, but I would also look at the linebacker position, a guy like Quay Walker or Lloyd, if he slipped down there, which I don't think either one of them are going to get out of the first round.
Right.
But that's where I would be looking with that number 33.
And I always use the rule, and it doesn't always add up to 100% guarantee, but there are fewer big men. Okay, there are just less people walking the earth that are of that size, that speed, that strength. And if you get important positions handled, which would be that guy coming off the edge, affecting the quarterback, and then you get a guy that can pilot the middle of that offensive line, make all those decisions. If it's a Tyler Linderbaum, let's just go. I don't know if you've checked this guy out enough, but Linderbaum is being mocked somewhere around late first, early second. Right. Then you've got Cam Jurgens from Nebraska that is being mocked somewhere late second, early third. Could you get away with the idea of a wide receiver, maybe with that 33rd pick, and then come back and get that interior lineman, should he be available?
Sure.
Right there at the top of the
Sure. I think that's where your board comes in.
Okay.
I think you look at your board and you say, whoa, we've got a much higher grade on a wide receiver like Watson or Pickens or whoever it is.
Right.
And
let's just say Linderbaum's gone.
Yeah. Oh, if Linderbaum's gone, I could see taking a receiver with the second, the best available receiver. One of that might be there is Burks.
Okay.
He could very well be there. Some have mocked him in the middle of the 25th, 24th.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I've always felt that everybody says, well, he's not a first round pick. He's not a first round pick. He's not. There's only 20 guys that most of these boards have as first round grades.
Yeah.
So anybody that you take from 20 to 35 or 40 are probably the same guy.
Yeah. All right, so just take a look at this. And all we're doing is we're just taking a look at a mock draft of where guys could go. Jamison Williams, we don't know where he's going to go. That's a wild card. They've got him going 19th. Christian Watson, who's a guy that you love, they got him going 22nd. Then they got Treylon Burks going right after him. Jahan Dotson going right before the end of the first round. A total of 7 wide receivers, coach, which would certainly be a busy first day for wide receiver skill position. A team could panic like Jacksonville, feeling like if these guys are coming off the board, they got to jump in and get one of them.
Yeah, I don't think that's a scenario you're going to see. If the 7 go, I think they'll go away from receiver. I think they'll look for a better.
The best are gone.
Yeah, we're going to go with what we've got right now, which we spent a lot of money on in free agency.
True.
I really think to panic is not the thing to do. When you start doing that, then now you're picking for need.
Okay.
And I think that's where you could go wrong, because I guarantee after the 7 receivers go, there's going to be somebody on that board at an offensive line or as an edge rusher or a corner or somewhere. There's going to be somebody there that is got a higher grade, and I think that's the way they will go.
I love what you said, and it's something that probably needs to be repeated. Don't panic.
Right.
Don't panic. Don't freak out. Don't go, my gosh, because it happens in the first round where there's a position run, teams will panic and they'll jump in there.
Right. And I really think, for example, I don't believe that 7 receivers will go in the first round. Again, 20 to 40, there's going to be a receiver in there that they've got picked in the top 5 or 6 or 7 in that range. There will be one there. And if the linemen are gone, they very well could take that guy because he's on their board.
And I'll ask you to repeat what you have said before, and it's worth listening to. You just said 20 to 40. Okay, let's just say prospect 20 through 40. They will all have about the same grade. Explain that a little bit.
Well, obviously there's a grading system. And when that final grade goes up there, it's all broken down. This guy is an elite player. He's an 8. This guy is a definite starter. He's a 7-1, 7-2, 7-3. These guys are guys that will be starters within 2 years. 6-1, 6-2, 6-3, 6-4.
Okay.
Of those guys that are definite starters, those 7-0s, there might only be 15, 16, 17. And every draft board I've ever been associated with, there's never been more than 20 or 21 that we had listed in the first round.
That makes sense.
Now, do we take we're picking in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we're number 24 or number 25. We got to take somebody.
Right.
They're all bunched down in that 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". Now it becomes, who do you have at 6'4",
right,
as opposed to somebody else at 6'1"?
And then it's okay to match need with that draft grade.
Absolutely, and especially if it's one guy's a 6'4" and the other guy's a 6'3".
Mm-hmm.
But if a guy's a 6'6" and another guy's a 6'1", then you're reaching a little bit, even though they're both within that category of have the ability to be a starter with development within 2 years.
The other thing people got to remember is that this team is signed free agents. They've plugged guys already in at the tight end position, a couple at the wide receiver position. They have made declarations with the money that they've spent on guys that they need right now. Right guard, Brandon Sheriff, an instant starter. Evan Ingram's going to come in and give them a lot, I would think, potential in the tight end, and then, of course, the two wide receivers. I've done a lot of work here.
I believe that that's the key to free agency.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? When you take guys at free agency, and whether or not they made the right choices or not,
right,
we'll find out. But they think they made the right choices, or else they wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
The reason they do that is so they don't have to necessarily pick for need and reach for somebody.
Yeah.
They can look at the board and say, for us to go forward and be a better football team 2-3 years down the road, I'm going to take the best player that I have on the board.
Yeah.
And if it happens to coincide with need, man, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And need is what you are all about in free agency.
Absolutely.
Okay, you don't need to be all about need in the draft. And they go out and they get an interior defensive lineman. They get a running linebacker that led the league in tackling in Olakun last year. So they've done a lot of things. Have they done it well? We don't know.
Yes,
we're going to find out.
We will find out. That's a great thing about it. That's what makes it exciting right now.
All right. So what we're just going to wrap it up right here. And then we'll have another podcast next week, which we will be able to say, this
is who
and,
we have.
Yeah, exactly.
We are loaded at this position.
Or, holy crap, what happened? It's going to be one of those, right?
Yep. And it always is. That's
right.
that. It's 50-50 on these guys.
Yeah. So enjoy it. We hope you enjoy it. We'll be back next Tuesday. Coach, as always, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Enjoyed it, guys.
Coach Campo, Joe C, right here on the eve of the draft.